Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm going to quickly show just a little preview of all of the cards I made using the Tonic Studios craft kit number 41. This one is called Sweet Sorbet, and it's actually the first color trend of 2021. And I had a lot of fun with this kit. I did introduce a different die set with these first two cards that you're seeing here. These are triple slider cards or triple tier slider cards. I purchased the Look Who It Is die set from Tonic Studios, but I don't have the base die set that actually cuts the pieces to create the triple tier card. So I have a separate video, which I'll link to in the upper right corner, that I sort of figure out how to create my own triple tiered slider card. So if you want to see that part in more detail, then go ahead and check out that video because it's in real time. I go into a lot of detail about how I figure it out so that if you need, you can customize it as well. But I've left that out of this video because as it was, I had probably around 5 hours of video footage that I needed to condense down, and that was not including creating the base of those triple tier cards. So here I'm starting with some of the Tonic Studios Craft Perfect watercolor paper, which we got a pack of in another kit, so I thought I would pull that out. It's already perfectly sized to be an A2, US A2 size panel, so that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm playing with some of the shimmer powders, which I love. They are so fun because of that effect that you get of just that color burst. And I love that you can't control what you get, and it's always a surprise. So it's really fun to kind of see it bloom. This is some of the glacier paste, which is so shimmery. I mean, this stuff is fantastic and a lot of fun to play with as well. It's really hard to appreciate on video, but when you look at it in person, you really can appreciate all of that shimmer and shine. The color itself is very light, which is why I decided to sprinkle on some more of the shimmer powder just to add some burst of vibrancy and color. And I'm just spritzing distilled water over top. So anytime you see me using a water bottle, it's always distilled water. That way, you don't introduce any, well, you can keep it in your craft room for a long time because there won't be any bacteria or smells over time if it takes you a while to work through it. But overall, it just keeps things a lot cleaner. Because you can also, if you wanted, spritz it into your glacier paste and mousses and stuff like that before you seal it back up, and that helps keep the moisture in as well. So here I'm trying to see if I can get a resist effect using the Nuvo drop. So that's why I painted it in a very specific pattern, and then I smushed it down to get that veining effect. And I know you can't really see it here, but here's again me pulling out the shimmer powder. You can see I really love it, and I'm trying to learn whether the shimmer powder will resist the areas where I previously put down and smushed the Nuvo drops. And you can sort of see that it does a little bit, but then, you know, some of the areas it still picks up the powder or the color. So there I just dropped on a few drops of gum arabic and water, and that's because I wanted to sprinkle in some more glitter, and the gum arabic is actually a binding solution, so I wanted to make sure that the glitter actually stuck to the page instead of just drying and then wiping off. So as I mentioned, I already created the triple tier slider card base, and this first one was just me learning to do it myself and to see if I could actually create it without the die set that Tonic has to actually make it really easy for you to create this style of card. But I would definitely recommend, if you were to do this, to actually decorate all of your panels first before you assemble, because it's a lot easier when everything is flat, unassembled, so you can really burnish down all of your decorative panels. But it's doable even after the fact, as you can see here. And so this, I think I mentioned earlier, is the Look Who It Is die set, and it's fantastic. It comes with a ton. The little icing, I went ahead and die cut a portion of it using the same popsicle die so that that curve at the top exactly matches the popsicle, because it looked as though the icing was sized and shaped to fit exactly the shaker blister pack. So when I went to put it on just the popsicle die cut, it didn't seem to match the curves very well. So that's why I decided to use the popsicle die so that I could get an exact match. Plus, I wanted to leave room for the little smiley face on the popsicle too. And this frame here is part of the Look Who It Is die set, which is a huge die set. I think there are 30 dies that come in it, which include a full set of numbers 0 through 9. So you can make birthday cards for any age, which is really nice. And this happy birthday sentiment is from that same die set. Interestingly enough, though, the stars that you see off to the left-hand side there, those are actually from the Sweet Sorbet die set, and they are the same sort of shape stars as the stars in this border. And that's, I guess, the nice thing about mixing and matching dies from the same brand, because even though these are two totally separate die sets, I guess whatever star graphic that they use whenever they use or incorporate stars into their designs, it's the same sort of proportions and the dimensions. So there's the actual die that you get in Sweet Sorbet, and I'm just die cutting a couple more in the specific color that I want. And one of the, or actually I think both of the stars in the set, they, even size-wise, will match exactly some of the stars in the border. I just liked having a little bit of that white border, so that's why I've chosen to overlay those stars onto larger stars that are on the frame. So I'm just using those exact same stars from Sweet Sorbet and adding them to some of my other panels. The Stay Cool stamp is actually from Sweet Sorbet, and but that little sunburst kind of effect is from the Look Who It Is die set. And the papers are from Sweet Sorbet, except for I think the lowermost matte layer, the light lavender. I think that's from my stash. Okay, so then this second triple tier pull-up card is actually the one that I created in my tutorial video, which, as I mentioned, I'll link to. And that's even less decorated because I, for tutorial sake, just wanted to show how to actually close everything up and create the full card, but none of it was decorated in that tutorial. On this Sending Sugar Coated Hugs panel here, what I used was Aileen's Tack It Over and Over glue, and I used the glue as a stamping medium, and I took the same little stars, die cut that out of foam, and used those foam die cuts as a stamp. And so I just stamped glue onto that purple panel there. The Aileen's Tack It Over and Over is a little bit like the Tombow two-way glue, where if you adhere two pieces together right away, then it's a permanent bond. But if you put down the glue, let it dry, then it dries clear and it becomes tacky. So it remains a little bit tacky, and then you can temporarily add things to it. Or in the case here, I sprinkled some glitter over it, and the glitter kind of almost looks like sugar crystals. So I thought that was really fitting for the sentiment, sugar-coated hugs, or sending sugar-coated hugs. And again, that middle panel is pretty much all from the Look Who It Is die set, though the pattern paper is from Sweet Sorbet. And just taking a moment to refill my ATG gun here. But these triple tier cards are really fun to make, and I imagine if you had the Tonic die set to actually die cut and create the card base, it would be even easier. But as it was, I didn't find it too difficult, so I really love how these turned out. And I used that same Eileen's Tack It Over and Over just to border the popsicle a little bit to give it sort of that sugar-coated glistening look, and I sprinkled some of the fondant glitter over top, and it just gives this really fun candy-like look. It's almost like those sort of jelly candies that have the sugar coating. So really, really fun effect, and you'll see on my later cards that I use that a couple more times, in fact. And so I really love these stars, and it just works out to complement the Look Who It Is die set so well. So I'm adding more stars to all of my panels, and I'm gonna put some foam to just give this front panel a little bit of lift. And I do like using all of my foam even after I've die cut from it. I just kind of put those die cut pieces on the inside, so you can't really see that it's a partial piece, but it helps to keep everything a little bit more level, and then nothing goes to waste. So adding some more of the little stars here, and I was just really very tickled by the fact that these were like a perfect fit. So you can see that one star in the lower right corner, that was a perfect fit even size wise, and these, it just worked out so well that these were the same, essentially the same shape. So that is my second card. I did forget, and I almost completely forgot, but I did remember at the last minute to actually die cut a little arrow for my pull tab, which is the clue to the card recipient that they need to do something, and then they should pull that up to see what is inside. So I would class these as pop-up cards because all the fun is sort of on the inside, and there's something special and unexpected on the inside. Maybe you could probably class this as an interactive card, but with interactive cards I tend to think of those as being something that you would want to just do over and over again. And this, I think, once you pull it out and you see what it is, it's not like an interaction that you want to keep on doing. So the way that I'm doing my pull-ups, I do end up with this tab here that is just hanging loose, and it doesn't harm anything for it to be there, but I decided I just wanted to tape it down, and I'm just using some Scotch tape because it's once you burnish that down, it's hardly noticeable, and that way it's just not flopping around, and just in case somebody were to get curious and look behind there. So I did that on both of those cards. This is going to be my interactive card, and I did do a lot of die cutting here. So there you can see I've used the Tack It Over and Over again, and that's how it looks after it dries. And so you can see it's very, very clear, and I love that effect of using the glitter. So I'm making my own blend of Ice White, Enchanted Eden, and Mermaid Parade glitters because I thought this worked really well with the colors in the kit. And I think I did 2 parts of the Ice White and 1 part of each of the other 2 colors. That was sort of the blend that I went for. You really don't need a lot. I mean, I would err on making less of a blend. That way you don't have to figure out how to store whatever's left over, or waste whatever's left over if you don't want to store it for another project. But you can see here when you first put down that Eileen tacky glue that it goes on white, but it will eventually dry clear. And I don't know exactly how long you need to give it to dry, because I just did all of these panels and I let it dry overnight. And I glittered up all but one just so that I could show you how I glittered the edge. And I put some of this glitter card behind here is actually from my stash. And I think it's from, this is from a Michael's, it's sort of like a scrap pack that I got where you just get an assortment of glitter card in 3x3 and 3x6 panels. And I've only purchased it the one time, so I don't know if you get the exact same assortment every time you purchase that pack, but the product description kind of would suggest that it's going to be random. You can't really control what you get. So I'm guessing it's just leftover cuts from whatever else they do with these glitter cards. And so they just cut it down to these conveniently sized pieces and sell it as a little scrap pack, which I think is really great because those sizes work out really well for how I use glitter card most of the time, because I kind of tend to use it in small doses like this. So I've got the exact same popsicle that I'm creating here, and you might notice that I'm not filling everything up completely, and that's okay because you'll see where I'm headed in a bit. It looks a little bit chaotic now, but all will become clear soon. So there was the one die during my unboxing that I wasn't sure exactly what it was because it just looks like clouds. But what I'm going to use it for is to take bites out of my popsicle. So I'm just going to angle it in different ways. And I guess if you see that die as a cloud, it would be sort of upside down, where the curves are inward. And then it kind of looks like somebody has taken bites out of this popsicle. And so I'll do that for all but one of my popsicles. The one that's going to stay full is the one that has the sentiment, "I love you more than ice cream," as the front. And one of the things that I noticed when I was die cut inlaying the swirly portions on the inside there, the bottommost swirl is different from the others that are above it. So there are kind of those 4 swirls, the full swirls that go from side to side. So that bottommost one, it's curved just a little bit differently in the lower corner. So just bear that in mind if you're doing die cut inlaying. The other 3 above it seem to be identical anyways. And so if you wanted to just die cut the strips, you could layer up, maybe two thicknesses of cardstock in each of those slots, and then you can kind of interchange them. So for my waterfall panel, I know I flashed it on screen and not for very long, but the dimensions are 3 1/4 by 4 inches tall, and along the 3 1/4 side, I scored it at 3/8 of an inch. And I'm gonna use some of the really pretty pattern paper that came in the Sweet Sorbet kit, and I'm gonna cut down my mats to 2 3/4 by 3 7/8. So that's it's only 1/8 smaller in width and height. So I'm only going to have a 1/16 inch border all the way around. But I like the really thin white border on this scale of a panel. So it works out pretty well here. And plus, I definitely wanted a little bit of white showing because it helps to kind of set the panels apart from one another because they do overlap each other. So what I'm using to cut here is the We Are Memory Keepers, the Works All-in-One tool, which I'm starting to like using quite a bit. I bought it for crafting down in my living room so I don't have to haul like half my craft room downstairs with me anytime I want to craft in front of the TV. But I'm finding that I'm actually using it more and more in my craft room because it's really convenient to cut and then score right away because it's all built into the one platform. So here I'm just putting my matte layers right on top of my panels, and I'm folding and burnishing on that score line. This is a strip of just scrap, really. I think it might be an inch wide, maybe an inch and a quarter. I scored it initially in half, and from that halfway point, I scored 3/8 of an inch down from there, so that I would have 4 sections to attach my panels onto. And then this little belly band is just a 1/2 inch little belly band, which I'm going to wrap around both sides of my pull tab here. So that pull tab is folded in half, and you just want to make sure you're only gluing it to the front side, the side that has all the score lines, and that the back of that pull tab can move freely. So when you wrap that belly band around there, don't wrap it so tightly that you can't slide the pull tab through it. You want to be able to leave just enough, room, like a loose wrap, so that you can really pull that with ease. And this cardstock here is from my stash, but I thought that it worked well and complemented the specialty paper that did come in the kit. And so I'll just cut some mats and layers. This is a 5x7 card base, and my card base I did cut from 120-pound paper. Really want to make sure that it's a very sturdy card base because of this will be an interactive card, and so you want everything to really feel solid and not feel kind of bendy or anything as you pull. And I don't think I mentioned it, but we are making a waterfall card. So I'm figuring out the order that I want my waterfall panels to be in, and it's really just a matter of the color and what colors I want to be that topmost panel. But as you can see, I'm kind of really debating overall what color I want shown, and I am using score tape because that's a really nice strong tape, and it's going to be an instant grab. I do want to burnish that in really well, and once you get that that first one down, then the rest will be really easy because you just line it up to the tabs, the panels that are below it. That first one, you just want to try to center the pull tab as best you can, and you can measure if you wanted, but eyeballing is just fine too. It's not critical that it's centered, it just will probably look a little bit nicer. And since our glue tab is 3/8 of an inch, and we scored those lines on the pull tab at 3/8 of an inch, it should fit rather exactly. I'm just going to snip off some of that excess card that's below the belly band, and I'm cutting a little extra cardstock here, and I'm going to adhere that to the top of the front of our belly band, just so that I can bring so that it's level with the belly band as I attach the final panel. And that final panel covers up all of the kind of the works, the mechanism of our waterfall, so that when you slide this and it's completely open, you're not going to see the belly band, you're not going to see the pull tab at all. And so that just neatly hides everything. And to make sure that it's well secured down, I like to kind of make everything flush and level. Here I'm using I have a lot of these strips of papers just left over from mini album making, and so I just have another one the exact same width. I'm going to round the corners exactly the same as before, and I'm going to double up the portion of the belly band that you actually pull on. So the cardstock that I used initially was 80 pound, and that's a nice weight for where your panels are attached, because it's gonna help that move a little bit more easily and not be as stiff. But for the pull tab itself, the thing that the card recipient is going to actually pull on, you want that to be really stiff, to be really strong. And that's why I'm doubling up on just that portion. And that way, as you pull, that pull tab isn't going to, bend and feel like it's not sturdy. So that's 2 layers of 80 pound, which is going to be more than sufficient to make that feel really solid. So here I made a mistake. So if you're crafting along with me, I'll describe what I did wrong here. So I put the foam all the way to the top, and as you can see there, it it goes up way too high. So here I'm pulling my pull tabs all the way down so that I know how far down I want that to be able to go, and then I'll have to remove the foam. I had to take a little bit of a break from that because sometimes when things go wrong, I can get a little bit frustrated, and I just need to move on to something else and then come back and fix it. Nothing is the end of the world, and so better to have figured that out early at that stage rather than have it be attached to my card and then have to fix it, because all I needed to do was just remove some of the foam. But here what I'm doing is creating my popsicle sticks. So I just did a partial die cut of the lollipop, just to die cut the rounded edge of the popsicle stick, and I did that a couple of times on this little scrap piece of craft cardstock, and now I'm just going to extend that straight line so that I get these nice long lengths of popsicle sticks that I can cut down and attach to my popsicles. So what I'm going to do is trim off the bottoms of my ice cream popsicles so that what would have been the stick is completely cut off. And then I'm going to attach my popsicle stick die cuts to the back. And I'm just going to die cut a few more. And now that I have the exact width, all I need to do is just nestle that into the popsicle stick portion. And this is more just to get that exact same curve for all of my popsicles, because I'm trying to go for the illusion that it's the same popsicle that is getting chomped away at. So there was one popsicle that I didn't completely glitter up, so that was just to finish glittering that up. And so once I put one stick down, I'm using that same one as a reference for all of my subsequent popsicles. So I'm just lining up each popsicle with my sort of master popsicle, which is the first one. And that way I get everything is attached at the exact same height. And here I'm determining, well, how much of a popsicle would be shown once you've eaten it down to this level. And this one is my the last popsicle in this series. And so once I have that where I wanted, I kind of do the reverse, where I place the other popsicles that are larger in front of it, and then I line up the top portion of the popsicle. And you can see even on the second one, a little bit does end up showing of the popsicle when I line up those popsicles exactly with one another. It's probably not that important that you be so exact, because these are on separate panels, so you'll never kind of see one on top of the other as I had it stacked. But just to kind of keep that continuity and make it, feel as real as possible, I took that extra step to really line it up. And I am making sure that I place these down in such a way that you don't see it until you start to pull on the waterfall mechanism, because I want it to be a little bit of a surprise that subsequent panels in my waterfall will have the popsicle progressively getting eaten. And this card, I did have to do like a funny check with my husband, because I was thinking about it, and I knew I wanted to do the waterfall of the popsicle slowly getting eaten away, but I in my head was deliberating on the punchline, because the first panel says "I love you more than ice cream," and I wanted to kind of have that funny haha of, yeah, that's true, but yet you see the ice cream getting eaten. And I found in my stash that I have, this is from Crafter's Companion Twirling Characters collection. The cat has the sentiment the dog did it, and so I used that from the cat set, but then I used the actual dog from the dog set, and I just thought it was so hilarious. But I had to ask my husband if this was funny to him too, because sometimes I find things like really, really funny, and I'm kind of the only one who finds it that funny. So before I put this down on the card, I showed it to him, and he got a laugh out of it. So I felt like, okay, I can put this onto the card base now. Okay, so with this card, what I'm doing is I'm going to put some double-sided adhesive on this little scrap piece of paper here, and I'm actually going to cover both sides with double-sided adhesive, and ultimately I'm going to die cut this piece, so I'll have this really nice, essentially a sticker die cut, because it will be edge to edge adhesive after it's been die cut. But the reason why I'm putting double-sided adhesive on both sides is because I'm actually going to use on the top side the double-sided adhesive to actually create my own glitter card. So I'll show you what I mean in a second here after I get this die cut. So I'm going to run this through, and then I'll have a really nice die cut with essentially double-sided adhesive on both the front and the back of this piece. And it die cuts just fine with all those extra layers of, paper liner and whatnot. So it, as you saw, I just ran it through my little mini die cutting machine from Crafter's Companion, and just worked just fine. So I'm going to pull off the liner on the front side, and I'm going to pour some of the fondant glitter over it, and you can see that you end up just essentially creating your own glitter card. And I just thought this was such a pretty color, so I'm going to burnish that glitter really well, kind of swirl it around, mix it in, make sure that it all of the adhesive is well covered, and I'm going to push it down rather aggressively just to make sure that I don't get any loose glitter coming off later. And you can be as generous as you need with the glitter, because as you saw, you can very easily just pour whatever excess you have right back into the container. This card making series, I think, is probably the most I've ever used glitter. I think I have some glitter on every card that I made, and it was it's quite hard to actually clean up all that glitter, but I found that using those Swiffer cloths helps a lot, because they just really cling, the glitter really clings to it. So that definitely helped. This is the little I'm using it as a bow. I'm not 100% sure if that's what it's meant for, but I just die cut that out of three different papers or cardstock, and layered it up a little bit staggered. these are seed beads from the Dollar Tree. So each of those packs that you see was only $1, and you get all of that. I mean, it's lasted me forever, and you get a number of different colorways. So there's the pink, the purple, the blue. I think there's a green and a yellow, and I think a black and white. So a lot of different colors, and I picked up one of each just so that I could have this assortment. And these are really nice because they make, as shaker cards, they make a lot of noise. So I definitely love for my shakers to be noisemakers. So here I'm just attaching some acetate, just a scrap piece of acetate to the back of my shaker blister. And I know this is probably not the way that, most people will use their shaker blisters. I just like sealing up my shaker panel, whether it's one that I cut myself or these blister packs, because once all the shaker bits are sealed and it's clear on the front and the back, then I can position it, I can preview it, I can really make sure that it's what I want before I glue it down to my project. So that's why I like doing it that way. It's a little bit of extra acetate and a little bit of extra work, but I find that more helpful for me just because I feel like I need to be able to preview it. And if I needed, I could pull out the acetate and add more or less shaker bits if I really wanted. And so for the ice cream portion itself, I think that's Centura Pearl that I have there, which is not, that's a Crafter's Companion pearlescent card, so that did not come in the kit. But I was going for sort of a vanilla flavored ice cream with colored sprinkles. Now, originally I was going to use that panel that I showed how I did the double-sided tape and created my own glitter card, but that fondant color it wasn't a perfect match with the shaker bits and with the shimmer powder colors. I felt like I wanted a more vibrant pink. So I pulled out another pink glitter that I had. One was from Nuvo, and this one that I ultimately went with is actually from We Are Memory Keepers, and it is a really nice glitter. It's super, super fine. I think it's even more fine glitter than the Nuvo from Tonic Studios. When you rub your hand over it, it feels really, really smooth, almost as if like it's less grainy. So it's just a really nice product. So that was the first time I was using it, and so I was really surprised by it. And I did do some practice strips, as you saw there, just to see what color that I felt went best. These vintage drops are really awesome. I think this might be the first or maybe the second bottle of vintage drops. I've never purchased any, so whatever I have is actually from these craft kits, but I really like that matte look. I didn't think I would because, when I go to put drops, I kind of want it to have a little bit of that shine and shimmer, especially with like the glitter drops have that little bit of sparkle to them. But the matte drops, it's a really nice look actually, so I liked it a lot. Okay, so this is another one of those panels that I created early on, and I just took the Verso die that has the sentiment, "You're so sweet," and I die cut that right out of the front of my card. And now I'm figuring out what color do I want to put behind there. And I really liked the mirror card, but it didn't feel like it was legible. Because it was so shiny. It made it a little bit harder to read that white sentiment over top of it. And I had a really hard time going back and forth, so I just kept having to like preview. And ultimately, the glitter card that I'm using here is actually from Die Cuts with a View, I think. And this is really nice glitter card. It's not super thick, as you can see. It's curled a little bit, but it's really smooth. Like if you run your finger across the top, it's a very smooth glitter card, and I rather like this more lightweight, especially for applications like this where I'm just putting a small piece of it behind a die cut. And this is sort of a flat card. It's not technically flat because you'll see in a bit when I layer up my sentiment, I use 2 layers, I think, of cardstock, but it is fairly flat. So with this glitter card though, it does take a while for the glue, liquid glue anyways, to dry. So I just scotch tape that down. Nobody's gonna see that anyways from the back. So so you can do that and not worry about it being messy. This is the We Are Memory Keepers word punch board, and I bought. Well, this one released first, along with a separate add-on pack for numbers. So here I'm spelling out happy birthday. And the reason why I'm staggering it like this is because I like for the letters to be a little bit closer together than what you would get if you just line it up straight like this. So my technique for pushing the letters closer together is to punch every other letter first with the first letter all the way, flush to the left. And I decided happy birthday along one banner was going to be too long. So I'm going to make 2 banners, one that says happy and one that says birthday. So then starting with the second letter, you put that second letter in position number 5. And then every other letter after that, you just butt up right against that first one. So all you have to remember is your first set, of your first punch is going to start at 1, line everything up against as flush as possible, and punch every other letter. Then, your second punch is going to start at 5, and again, starting from the second letter, you just do every other. So you'll see, here's happy, and in a bit I'll do birthday, so you can see that again. And if you did multiple words, you want to treat a space as a letter and make sure you leave a space for that. So here I'm going to spell out birthday. Birthday is in the left. The B is in the leftmost, and I'm just doing every other letter starting from B. My second punch, I'm going to start with the second letter, but that's going to start in position 5, not all the way to the left, but every other letter starting from the second letter, I, is going to butt up against the letter I going to the right. And that's how you get the letters punched a little bit closer to one another. And I do have a separate longer tutorial on how I use the word punch board, and so I'll link to that too if you want to see that separate video. But really, this is probably the thing that I use it most for, is to I almost always push the letters closer together whenever I go to use this punch board, because the default setting, I feel like, is just the letters are just too far spaced apart. So I'm going to cut down my strips, and I think it ends up being like 3/8 inch high if you wanted to be exact about it. And I'll angle off the ends of my sentiment flag here, and I'm gonna use some of that sort of hot pink glitter card, because I think that pink really brings out the pink in the shimmer powder. These glitter cards happen to work really well with the colors in the shimmer powder, which is why I chose them. And so I'm gonna put the purple behind the happy portion, just to bring some of that purple that's behind the "You're So Sweet" sentiment into the other side of the card. And then birthday is going to be a little bit sort of an accent color in this pink, and that just brings the background into the foreground a little bit, and just makes everything look a little bit more kind of coordinated and matchy. So I'll put my watercolor panel down first here, and This is pretty thick because the watercolor panel is really thick, and then my card base is also 120 pound. But in a previous card making session, I made hinges, and so that made it not. It was just a little bit of extra work, but I just used essentially a half panel. But I thought this is a relatively flat card, so just double layering the card fronts, I think, worked out okay. It didn't make it too top heavy. So here's a recap of all of my cards. This is the first of 2 triple tier pull-up cards. And I did use a different die set for some of the decorative elements. So that was the Look Who It Is die set that has all the borders and the happy birthday and whatnot. This is my second triple tier card, and again, using a lot of elements from both die sets, but they work really well together. As I mentioned, the stars that are in the Sweet Sorbet set are the exact, same kind of proportionality and shape as the stars that are in the Look Who It Is die set. And so those 2 I would kind of class as pop-up cards. And here's my waterfall card. So it says, "I love you more than ice cream." And as you pull on the pull tab and your waterfall panels start to flip, you kind of see that the ice cream is slowly getting eaten away at until you hit the punchline, "The dog did it." And I might actually go back and stamp on the pull tab itself a little message like "Happy Birthday" or something like that. But I'm going to leave it as is for now because this is kind of a general occasion card as it is currently, so I could put anything on there really. And then this is more or less a flat card, but I do layer up a little bit on the sentiment. And another interactive card, this is a shaker card using the blister packs that one of the blisters that come in the blister packs that they provided in the kit. And I don't have a sentiment on this one, but again, I'm going to probably add one when I figure out, what occasion I want to use that for. So those are the cards that I made using this kit. Thanks again for joining me for this video, and if you like this video, please do consider liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing to my channel so that you can get notifications whenever I publish new videos. Thanks again, and until my next video, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Bye!